Alrighty, well the engine bay could use a little bit of love, so I'm going to go over it once with the old Tough Stuff citrus-based cleaner. Stuff works amazing to get all that dirt, grease, grime out of there. And then I'm going to follow it up with a little bit of tire wet to add that sweet slick shine.
Slick shine.
Plasti Dip in your wheels. Generally, as a rule of thumb, you're going to need about 1 can per wheel. So this is a standard vehicle with 4 wheels, so obviously 4 cans. If you have like 3, 3.5, you can kind of stretch it. But any less than that, you need to go to Walmart, get yourself a can of plain black Plasti Dip. Now this will come out with a flat matte finish. If you would like it glossy, they sell something, which I actually have here, called Dip Glossifier, which will add kind of a protective clear coat. You're going to need 4 trash bags. These are going to go over the brake rotors. Unless you want to take the wheels off, you can do that, but you really don't need to. So why work harder when you can work smarter? You're going to cover the brake rotors with these, and then any overspray, you're just going to take a light scrub brush or a sponge and go around the tires, and as it should just be a thin layer of overspray, it'll come right off your tires. Actually decided instead of Plasti Dipping the wheels, I'm actually going to paint them or rattle can them with satin black here. I know that paint looks fantastic. That's what I used on the wheels on my Street Fighter build here, and they look great. So I'm going to go ahead and use that because I think it'll look a little bit better than just the Plasti Dip. And honestly, these are going to get replaced in the somewhat near future anyway. So they don't have to be perfect. However, I think the satin black's actually going to look better than the Plasti Dip. As for the ass end back here though, I am going to Plasti Dip the rear badge. So I have it taped off. If you get a little bit of overspray on the paint, not a big deal. Just make sure that you wipe it off immediately. Because Plasti Dip, the first couple coats, it really isn't going to do a whole lot besides create a chemical compound, create the chemical bond that this needs to actually rubberize and thicken up. But once you get into your 3rd, 4th, 5th coat, that's when it starts becoming, you know, actual peelable paint. There's not much left in this can. Now with any spray paint, but in particular Plasti Dip or any kind of rubberized paint, you want to make sure you shake it really good to make sure all the chemicals are mixed well. Alright, that is literally how thick you want the first coat. Real light like that, you can still see the silver behind it. You basically just want that to create that chemical bond with whatever surface you're using. Now for all 4 wheels here, you're just going to take your trash bags, kind of run them through the spokes. This is a lot easier if you have, you know, like a wide 5-spoke design or something like this, versus if you have like some really tight, you know, BBS wheels or something like that that have those little tiny spokes. So basically you just want to run this around and cover up your brake caliper and rotor. Hey Harley, just helping out Daddy? Yeah, kisses. Alright, cover that up. Ma'am, you're kind of in the way right now. Yes, that's lovely, thank you for that. Alright, now this is really important because I'm using spray paint, not Plasti Dip. So if I screw up, it's going to be a lot harder to remove. Now once you have all 4 of the wheels covered up with your trash bag, you want to make sure that your wheels are completely clean. So I usually use some kind of a all-purpose cleaner on there to make sure that the paint is actually going to stick. Keep a rag on standby with warm, saturated, soapy water in case you do overspray on something. You can kind of wipe it off real quick. It is good to have paint thinner, but you don't necessarily need it unless you do let the paint sit for too long and it has a chance to actually set in. Now, if you do get a little bit of paint on the brake rotors, it's not a huge deal because the caliper is going to squeeze it and in turn it's going to scrape off the paint anyway. Alright guys, all done. There's the finishing product. Just kidding, that's first coat. Alright, so this is coat number 2. As you can see, ooh, the lighting's not too great over here. As you can still see a little bit of the silver, so it's not a complete coverage yet, but this is just coat number 2. I'm going to put about 3 more on, And as you see, I got a little bit of overspray on the paint here. Not a big deal. Take your finger. Just rubs right off. And if you can't get it off with your fingers for whatever reason, either you let it sit too long or whatever, I highly recommend picking up some paint clay like this. This stuff is really great. I think I got that in a kit from Meguiar's, and it works fantastic. All right, we got coat number 2 on the wheels, looking pretty good. I had to crack the garage because I was getting a little bit lightheaded. In fact, I might open it up a little more. It's pretty freaking fumey in here. So I'm gonna let these sit for about 20-30 minutes and then go ahead and put on coat tree. Alrighty boys, she's looking pretty good. I'm gonna do about 2 more coats. I've done 3 or 4 so far. I've been huffing a lot of paint, I can't remember. 3 or 4. Each coat getting progressively thicker. And I've got full coverage right now, so you can't see any silver, the original color of the wheel. But for the last 2 coats, I'm gonna go ahead and roll the car forward, or move the car forward about a foot and a half, so that way it reveals all the spots of the wheel that I couldn't see, just to make sure that I didn't miss anything from any other angles. And then I'll probably back it up and yeah, just make sure that I'm hitting each angle with equal coverage. All right, looking pretty good. As you see, I got some overspray on there, so it's over, right? I got to sell the car and buy a new one. Wrong. Just take a little bit of water here, a little bit of a clay bar. Go ahead and dip it in there, get it moist, damp, wet, if you will. And then just lightly graze it across the top layer of the paint like that. And this clay bar is going to pick up any imperfections out of the paint. So that includes overspray. That could be small nicks and scratches, overspray. Yeah, so now if this was actual spray paint, this might be sort of an issue, but since it is Plasti Dip, stuff will come off no problemo. Alrighty guys, 5 or 6 coats complete. Just remove the garbage bags and it looks pretty doggone good. I mean, if you get right up on it, you may be able to see a couple imperfections, but honestly, they look pretty darn good. Plasti Dip's complete as well, and that GTI badge is sticking out like a sore thumb though. I've got to black that out at some time. But those, since they're very tiny, I probably am going to remove those and Plasti Dip them off the car and then stick them back on. You don't really have a choice with this because this is the actual release latch for the hatch, so it's part of the car, and it'd be a real bitch to disassemble that. Anyway, looks pretty doggone good. It'll look much better when it's lowered and the windows are tinted, because right now I've never owned a vehicle without tinted windows. It looks ridiculous. So boys, the Mark 7 GTI, I don't know about the previous years, but the 17 at least, I'm pretty sure all of them, come with slots for a front and rear tow hook, as you see by this little cutout there. And it came with a tow hook as well. It's got an Audi emblem on it. Volkswagen, Audi, same company, like Honda and Acura. Anywho, I think I'm gonna actually install this in the rear. So in order to get these bad boys off, you just use your finger and push. Pops like that. Pull it out. And these are threaded, they screw in there. This thing feels really heavy duty, like you could actually tow the entire vehicle by this motherfucker, which is the point of a tow hook. Or tow strap, whatever you prefer to use. There's also, let's try and get around Betty White here so you can see, another one right there, but I did order a aftermarket red tow hook for that. And yeah, so I think I'm going to use this stock one in the rear though, and I'm going to, it's kind of like dirty, it's just doesn't look too pretty. I'm going to go ahead and spray it with my satin black spray paint up there, and yeah.